At the New Jersey SBDC Network, our mission is simple: to help businesses grow and succeed. Our consulting, training, and information services make it easier for businesses to reach their potential. Whether you're currently in operation or just starting out, we have the right tools, resources, and expertise to help you succeed. Visit us online to get started on your path to success today.
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Takal Bell. I am an event coordinator here for the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark. And on behalf of Dr. Tendai Ndoro, the regional director, I would like to welcome you to our Credit Management, Understanding Personal Credit and Scores webinar. For those of you here that are unfamiliar with the SBDC, it stands for Small Business Development Centers. And here at the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers at Rutgers-Newark, we serve as the premier provider of business training and technical assistance services to establish small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs. Now, we are one of 12 centers in the NJSBDC network, and we service those in Essex County. Our center is hosted by the Rutgers Business School and is funded through a partnership agreement between the Small Business Administration, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. Our mission here is to help entrepreneurs as well as business owners start and grow sustainable, successful businesses through the delivery of one-on-one business consulting, training, and technical assistance programs. Now, these services are provided to you at no cost and are paid for by your tax dollars. If you or your business is located in Essex County, our website is www.rnsbdc.com, where you can request counseling. And on the top right-hand corner, there's a button labeled Request Counseling. So clicking on that button will lead you to fill out information, including the help you are seeking. And within 24 to 48 business hours, a consultant will reach out to you for an assessment. For those of you that are not in Essex County, our other website is www.njsbdc.com. And on this website, you can type in your county and it will refer you to your local SBDC office. Now, for the benefit of everyone attending today's webinar, the audio has been muted, and we will be taking questions via the Q&A feature here on Zoom. We do have the chat feature on, but the Q&A feature will help us to remain organized and will help to have all the questions and answers in one designated area. So please feel free to post your questions and we will do our best to respond during or at the end of the webinar. A copy of the presentation slides along with a video recording of this webinar will be emailed to you within 48 to 72 business hours of the end of this presentation. So you can refer to this information in the slides long after the end of the webinar. So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today's presentation, Carmen Morris. Carmen is the CEO and founder of Navaris Associates and Business Mastery Consulting Service. And Carmen is also an SBDC consultant here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark in the areas of international trade, strategic planning, and credit counseling finance. So now, without further ado, I will now turn today's presentation over to Carmen.
Thanks, Dakota. I want to welcome everyone to this webinar, Understanding Personal Credit. I will be covering a lot of information today. So if you have, as we go along, if you have any questions, please start typing them as you hear the information that most pertain to you. But first, I want to make a disclosure. I am not an attorney, so any information that you obtain on this webinar, whether you use it or not use it, please don't consider it to be legal advice. You're going to hear a lot of things that I've used through the years and a lot of things that have techniques and credit and how to manage your credit that many thousands of clients have used and have great success. So as you listen carefully, just take those that pertain to you, have your questions ready, and we're going to try to get it to you, get an answer to you as soon as possible. But anyway, my name is Carmen Morris. As she said, I've been in business for 35 years. I started learning a lot about managing credit. When I was in the real estate business, I used to own a Remax franchise, and I had to deal a lot with people's credit and mortgage companies. So I started going into digging more into some of the laws that cover credit and finding ways in which I can help people. So today we're going to be covering all this information concerning how to communicate with credit bureaus, dealing with collection agencies, how may you be impacted by COVID, and what are the things that you can do right now to resolve any credit issues that you may that may have affected you during this situation. What exactly is a credit score or FICO score? We're going to go to the different situations and different types of scores that are out there so that you may become familiar with it. And so when you see your credit score, you know exactly where it's coming from and what type of information is in it. We're also going to discuss the variables of credit. How is it that these numbers are formed, and how does it affect you? How to utilize the amount of credit that you have available to you, and how does it affect you also as well? We're going to cover some of the laws that pertain to credit and how you can use them to improve your credit, and how so that you can tell how much they are really on your side, and how these laws are put together really to help the consumers. We're also going to discuss the process of credit freeze to some of the data miners and third parties that are out there, which is how that information gets on your credit report. Also, how to deal with credit bureaus and collection agencies, which is a huge problem that many of us face, that most people face when it comes to credit. So let's talk about how have you been impacted with this pandemic, and what has been done through the CARES Act in order to assist you to get your situation corrected. But now you can go to annualcreditreport.com, and you can get it on a weekly basis. You can get your credit report. You can pull your credit report and at no cost to you. And the reason they have done this is because a lot of people have loss of income, which could be a big factor into that affects your credit. And if you are that person that have had loss of income, one of the things that I recommend is that this is not the time for you to worry about your score. I know that this is something that a lot of people are going through, and you're not alone in this. Just understand one thing, that if there is anything wrong in your credit, it can be fixed. No matter what it is, this is the good news, that no matter what it is, it can be fixed. So many of us are sometimes used to having the 700 to the 800 credit score. And when an unfortunate situation happens, then we get very stressed out about not being able to pay the bills on time and not being able to continue our commitment towards the creditors that we said we were in the beginning. So if this is you, you need to understand that you do not need to stress out about this. There is help. There is the Credit Report Protection Act, CARES Act. There's a lot of things that protect you, and there's a lot of help out there. So if your finances have been affected at this time, please do not think about your score. Try to pay your bills on time if possible. Contact your creditors. If you are someone who owns a mortgage and you need to make payments to your mortgage payments to the bank, and you can, there's help. And there is help that is also being extended beyond 180 days. And this is something that you should not worry about right now. Just cover your bare necessities, like your rent, your electricity and food and other things that you really need to be concerned about right now. But do not worry if you are the person who have been affected through this pandemic and your income have been substantially low now due to the loss of your job or business or whatever it is. do not worry about how to pay the creditors right now. The creditors, as long as you talk to them and you maintain them informed of what's going on, things can be resolved. And just remember, and I'm going to keep on repeating this, anything on your credit can be fixed. So what is a credit score? Let's dig into what is a credit score. These are statistical numbers that are collected by the credit bureaus, and this is how they measure your credit worthiness. This number goes from 300 to 850. Now, I want you to take notice of this. The lowest you can have, credit score you can have, it's 300. This is what they start you with. This is what they give you when they're giving you these ranges of numbers. So between 300 and 850, there's 500 points. These are the 500 points that you are responsible for or that you have control over, because the 300 is given to anyone, no matter how bad the credit is or no matter how good the credit is. These are the 300 is where you start. So between the 300 and the 850, which is 500 points, that is where you step in. And that's what we're going to talk about. How can I get those 500 points that I can go ahead and influence in order for me to get it on my report? So the first credit, the score that we're going to talk about is the FICO score. The credit scores have now been named FICO. FICO is not, it's just one form of scores that is out there. The FICO score was introduced by the Fair Isaac Corporation about 25 years ago, but this name has been used interchangeably, in which now everyone calls a credit score a FICO score, but that's not what it is. A FICO score is just one way that this company goes ahead and figures out, in terms of percentage and in terms of information obtained from the credit bureaus. And we're also going to talk about how does this information get on your credit report and where does it come from. The three major credit bureaus, which are Equifax, TransUnion, and Equifax, TransUnion, they take that information from another party, which I'm also going to talk about. So all of this information is given to the Fair Isaac Corporation takes this information and converts it into numbers by giving you different scores, giving you this percentage depending on the information. Now there's also, and I'm going to cover the information that it is that, how is it in terms of percentage that this information gets converted into a number, into a digit that goes into your FICO score. The FICO score is the most widely used score, but it's not the only one out there. You're going to see that you're going to have different scores through different credit bureaus, and that's because they use different types and different methods of figuring your scores. Now, there's also what is called the Ultra FICO score. This is a formula that is created to those with little or no credit history. This works with your checking account. Now, if you all notice that you see now on your bank is now offering you your FICO scores. This is one of the scores that the banks use, and this is now being used a lot out there for people that have little or no credit. What they do is that they take the last 3 months of your statements and they look at if you have any charge, or if you have any back checks that you have written, any late fees or any overdraft, or you not managing your money well, or what they do is also that they see the balances that you keep. It's always healthy that you keep at least $300 to $400 balance, a $300 or $400 balance on your checking and savings account in order for your FICO, for your Ultra FICO to come up. This is a good way also, if you have no credit or little credit, this is a good way for you to increase your credit scores. How do you do that? I always recommend for clients to pay their bills online directly from their checking account, and to have it paid on a certain day, that if the due day is, for example, the 5th, make sure it's paid by the 3rd, or at least by the 1st, a few days prior to when the due day is approaching. So, but this is a great way to increase your credit through the Ultra FICO score. This is how the FICO scored by the Fair Isaac Corporation. This is how they, in terms of number, how they go from 300 to a 50. So 300, remember I said that 300, everyone is given that 300 number. So from 300 to 579, this is poor. Then it goes into fair, good, and very good. So you have control to get your credit score through those 500 points that you can go ahead and increase to get from fair to excellent. And that is strictly under your control, but you have to stay on top of it and manage your credit. Because the hard part is once you get to the 800 and 850, a lot of stuff sometimes starts showing up on your credit report. And I tell you, the most, about 80% of the time, there is information that does not belong in your credit report. So you have to stay on top of it. So another type of score is the Vantage FICO score. This was created by Expedient, TransUnion, and Equifax. And they created this type of score to make it just another one, and just like the FICO. So they got together, the 3 credit bureaus got together, and they formed an organization in March of 2006 and created these alternative FICO scores. Oh, I'm going to say credit scores, because this is not FICO. It has become a household name in terms of saying credit score. But this is the Vantage FICO score. It's what this credit bureau put together. They came together as one, and they said, let's create our own credit score, and how we can go ahead and get lenders to use our own instead of the FICO and all the other types of credit scores that are out there. And this is how the Vantage credit scores are used. If you notice, the scale in the numbers are a little wider, and it goes from very poor, remember the 300, and then it goes to poor, fair, good, and excellent. This is where you have the control to bring it from poor to excellent. Remember, the 500 points is what you're shooting to go ahead and increase your credit. You're going to go ahead and keep in mind, okay, so if my credit score is 300, I'm going to see how I'm going to get these 500 points, excuse me, and make it to the 800 or at least the high 700. So this is what makes up, in terms of percentage, how these FICO scores are calculated. Payment history, and I'm going to go through each and every one individually so that we may have a better understanding as to how we can go ahead and apply these percentages to amount to the 500 points that we are responsible for, or that we have control over. So 35% is payment history, 30% the amount you owe. The length of credit history is 15%. New credit is 10%. A lot of people ask me, well, how can new credit be 10% if I'm getting a credit card and I notice that my credit jump 80 points or 70 points? It's not that it's just the 10%, because when you acquire new credit, it goes into other variables in which you can see the amount of credit that is available to you, and that also increase your credit. So don't count that new credit as being only a 10%, because that's a combination with other variables within your credit score. 10% is types of credit that you are using, like mortgages, cards, and credit cards. So let's talk about the payment history. The high impact variables are the main ones. Remember, as I said before, 35%. That is the highest in what affects your credit the most. Payment history. Always pay your bills on time. Pay the creditors on time. If it is due on the 1st and you paid on the 2nd, that means that on the 1st at 12 midnight, that debt is going to be reported as late. And that really affects your credit. Now, credit usage is a place where a lot of us miss it. And not understanding that we should not go above 30% utilization on the amount of credit available to you. I always tell my clients, a credit card is a liability unless you have a system in which you use credit to benefit you and not to harm you. So if you get a credit card that has a $1,000 limit, you should not use more than $300, and even lower than that. I like to keep my own to 25% if I have to, and if I don't, I would just not use it. So to keep the utilization rate down on any credit card that you have, 30% is the highest that you will go. If you have $1,000 credit limit that you are to use, and you use $300 and 3 cents, that gets you over, and that would decrease no matter how much it is. If it's above 30%, it would decrease your credit. Now, derogatory information such as bankruptcies, collections, and liens. And we're going to talk about those also as well, especially collections, which is one of the ones that we deal with the most on most credit reports. And how I'm always going to tell you, when we get to collection, never ever communicate with them. There's only one type of communication you should do with collection agencies. Now, a median impact variable, and let me go back to these numbers. See the median, the length of credit history, which is a 15%. How old is your account? Closed accounts also. If you have old accounts, let me just cover this. For example, I often have clients tell me, well, Carmen, I have these student loans that have been there for like 10 years, 15 years. I don't need those things anymore on my credit. And they go ahead and they argue it and they take them off. As long as that student loan is reported positive, you should keep it there, because the length and the time and how old the account is, it's a median impact variable, but it impacts your credit also as well. The amount of credit that is available to you. Remember, I just said that amount, let's say if you have $5,000 that is available to you as a credit line, as opposed to a $10,000 credit line, and you're not using more than 30%, that's very favorable for your credit. That would increase your credit score also as well. And as I said, how long has the credit line been open? How many years? If it's something reason, they put it as a medium impact variable, or if it's something that has been there for long, it'll go to a higher impact variable, and the percentage will increase to increase your credit score. Now, the low impacts are the total accounts that are open, how much credit is available to you. The inquiries. There's what is called soft inquiries and hard inquiries. The soft ones don't have any effect on your credit. Sometimes you have a credit card that with a certain bank, and the bank decides to pull your credit just to see if they can go ahead and increase your credit limit. Those don't affect you. The ones that affect you are the ones that are pulled with your information. Like if you're shopping for a car or shopping for a home and you go to different places and you apply with different banks, those are the ones that affect you. And and these are things that you have control of, and you can also have them removed if you have not inquired for them to authorize them for them to pull your credit. So how do we fall into this credit pit? I'm just going to go through these steps so that we and talk about it, because some of us make mistakes that we then realize, oh, I shouldn't have. We use credit irresponsibly. Keep in mind, a credit card is a liability. This is not money in your bank. This is money that has been made available to you for a profit. They want to make a profit out of you. And that's the reason they make this money available to you. So if you look at it in terms that you will use this available credit responsibly and use it only when you need it and for something that favors you in your situation. We ignore creditors. When a creditor calls you, it is always best that you speak to them and get the situation straight. Do not be afraid. There's always ways that you can work things out with creditors. The only people I don't speak to is collection agencies. I've never done business with them, so they have no reason to call me or send me letters or anything. So I don't deal with collection agencies in terms of let me call them and figure things out. No, because collection agencies, there's some information here and techniques that I use that I would not discuss on these webinars, but just don't talk to collection agencies. Do not talk to them, handle them at a different level. And there's many ways in which you can handle them. We go on a shopping spree. Like, again, we use the credit available to us irresponsibly. We never check our credit. Remember, now you can go on a weekly basis and pull your credit and see what's happening and see who's going in there, see who's checking your credit, and see what are the things, what information is in there that is not supposed to be there. Now, a big, huge one is that we call sign for someone else. Now, even when you call sign for someone else and there's in this information, if the person, let's say you call sign for someone for a car and the person gets the card reprocessed and it goes on your credit report because you failed to pay the bank and you call sign for that person, there's even ways that you can go ahead and deal with that information, because most of these people always report the information erroneously to the credit bureau, and that is a violation. So when you call sign for someone, you have to be extremely, extremely careful. I have a rule. This is something I don't do. If anybody comes to me, I would tell them, let me assist you. This is what you can go do. Once your credit is at that point, then you can go ahead and purchase that property or purchase a card or whatever it is you want to do. But do not put your signature on someone else's behalf when you don't have control over that, because that would be something you have no control over. We need to budget, and also financial illiteracy is something that we don't take serious many times. So where do we begin? How do we get started? You'll pull your credit report. Go to annualcreditreport.com or freecreditreport.com and pull out your credit. See what's on that credit. See what information is there. The first thing that you need to do is that you need to update your personal information. Once you pull that credit report, I guarantee you, no matter if you have excellent credit, there will be something in there that is wrong and that is not supposed to be on that credit report. So the first thing that you do is that you make sure you update your personal information. You're probably going to see that it says address history. That's wrong. That is a violation. Why? because the history of your addresses is not a place where they can communicate with you. And there is, according to the Fair Credit Collection Act, you need the information that is provided to the consumer or provider to the marketplace have to be accurate. And if you no longer live at that address, you don't even have to say, I don't live there anymore. You say, that is not my address. So everything has to be removed and make everything current. The information, your telephone number, if you change your name. I've seen people use different names and change their names because now they're married or now they're divorced and it has affected their credit. So there's a lot of things that you need to make sure it's current and it's accurate. And this is information that you can go ahead and dispute. And once this information goes inaccurate, if there is something, for instance, you have an all collection agency that is no longer in business or it's no longer there, but it's still on your credit report and is under a different name, or it doesn't have an account for many reasons, it is extremely important that your information is correct. Now, organize yourself. Collect all your bills and all the debt that you have, budget, and create a record keeping system that you can go ahead and track everything that you do. Now, let's talk about how the law is on your side. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, this is the FDCPA. This is how we deal with collection agencies. And you're going to hear me refer a lot to collection agencies because this is one of the problems that most of us face the most on our credit report. Sometimes we have these like $10 medical bill or whatever it is, something really stupid that just gets into your credit report by these agencies. You have to remember these agencies are not big companies, with the exception of a few that handle your student loans. Sometimes they're like a one-man or a two-man shop that don't know most of the law, and they don't keep in mind most of the things that they need to do in order for them to stay current. Now, the FDCPA Section 807A is one of the ones that is used the most. If I tell you how many times I've been successful with this, you would not believe it. Me and thousands of people. This is false or misleading representation, communicating or threatening to communicate to any person credit information which is known or which should be known to be false. Now, most collection agencies, this is what they do, because sometimes they don't even know your account number, including failure to communicate that the debt has been disputed. Now, this is where they always fail. Remember I said most collection agencies are very small agencies, and they're not on top of reporting to the credit bureau that you are disputing a debt with them, or that you have, or that the debt is current, or even reporting the correct amount. A lot of violations. This is what collection agencies do. So if you know, this is not the only law that you can go ahead and protect yourself with against collection agencies. This is just one of them. There is many that you can go ahead and quote to them and have them remove anything. You never talk to them on the phone, never ever communicate with them on the phone. And I'm going to repeat that as I go on the webinar. Always in writing. Anything that you do with them, it's always in writing. So there is also the Fair Credit Reporting Act. This is the part of the law that deals with the credit bureaus. Remember the previous one was excuse me, with the collection agencies. This one deals with the credit bureaus, the banks, creditors. I became very familiar with this law through the FTC, which I'm going to cover back in 2005 when I was dealing with a mortgage company that I had to file many reports. But the Fair Credit Reporting Act these are rules. This is what rules the credit bureaus. Section 623A3. This shows the responsibility for them to furnish your information correctly. Not if you no longer live at that address, remember? That is not correct because you don't live there. Even if you live there, who cares? It doesn't matter. That is not your address. If they send you a letter, they cannot communicate with you at that address. So when you are fixing your when you are putting your information current and you're fixing the information on your credit report, this is one of the things that you use. They need to provide also a notice that the debt is being disputed, or that any information is being disputed. And that's all. That also I will cover when I go into the collection agency and the statutes of limitations and how many days you can wait and how many years is supposed to be there. But remember, every information, their responsibility of Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they and the banks, creditors, they need to make sure that this information is accurate. So that goes for your name, phone number, and any information, all the histories of the of addresses that you may have on your credit report. So the Federal Trade Commission is a branch of the government that is there to protect you. In 2005, this is why I became very familiar with the filing reports and following up. They educate you on what to do. It's very simple. Everything is online. If you have a complaint in the marketplace with anything that has to do with credit and you didn't think it was fair, this is where you report it. And they do follow up. They do open an investigation. They do their due diligence in doing everything that you're complaining about. If you feel you've been scammed by any creditor or bank or anyone in the marketplace, this is the place where you can go and file a complaint with them. And they follow up with everything that you file. So some of the common creditors violations, some of them I didn't list here, but I'm going to talk about them anyway. Collection agencies or creditors that are, let's say if your debt has been sold to another creditor or another lender, and is reporting the wrong amount on your credit report, even if you were late or if you miss a payment or 80 days, 60 days late or 90 days late, if the amount of the debt is being reported incorrectly and they cannot prove that, they have to delete it because it's a violation. Collection agencies, they call you. If any collection agency or a creditor calls you between 8 a.m. or 9 p.m., before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m., if they contact a third party to obtain information about you, that's also a violation. Now, a big one is that they lie about the amount you owe. Let me tell you why collection agencies lie about the amount you owe, because most of the time they don't know. They don't have the original contract, because the creditor, with the exception of federal student loans, if anybody deal with Navient Solutions or some of these big companies that handle the collection of student loans or even state taxes or federal taxes, then these companies may have with them the original contract. But if a collection agency says, if you notice, if you look in your credit report, most of the time they don't even have the full account number. Why? Because they don't have it. Because they don't have access to that information. What they do is if you owe someone $300, the collection agency goes and buys that debt maybe for $50 or $40, and then tries to get $100 from you. They just want to get some money from you. This is why I do not talk to them. The only way that I would communicate with them is in writing, and it is to dispute whatever debt they're saying, because they have to provide you with proof that this is your debt. And I don't feel bad about it, because so many people say, oh, but you're lying. If you know that is your debt, how come you're going to go ahead and say it's not? No, I'm not lying. I'm saying I've never done business with them. So I don't need to answer any of the questions or any of the requests or even pay them, because the debt has been charged off and the original creditor has done an agreement with someone else. That's not my problem. So I don't communicate with them. They threaten to garnish your salary or sell your property. No one, with the exception of the bank who has to go through a process of foreclosure, can sell your property. So this is, you need to understand this. Garnish your salary, it has to also go through a process of court, and it has to go through a process in order for a creditor, and collection agencies cannot garnish your salary. But it has to be the original, and it has to be under a certain agreement, and it has to go through a process that 90% of the time, no one does. So you have to, if you notice the garnishing of salaries have become less and less, is because of all the laws to cover it. They give false credit information on your credit report. Like I said, if they don't have your correct name, the account number, and it's not correct, that it has to be deleted. And all of this information you disputed directly with the credit bureaus. Not responding to a disputed in timely manner. Let me just tell you, it has to be 30 calendar days. It's not 30 working days. I know a lot of people out there confuse this. Well, how many days do I have after I'm disputing something? How many days do I have in order to hear back from the creditor? And if not, it have to be deleted. It's 30 calendar days. I'm going to give you the process of how you do it exactly. Let's take, for example, a collection agency. If you get a debt from them, if you get a bill from somebody, because you're never going to know the name, because you've never done business with them originally. So what you do is, the first thing that you do is that you need to understand that in the state of New Jersey, every collection agency has to be licensed and bonded. In the state, any collection agency has to be licensed and bonded in the state in which they operate. So at most, I tell people, check the state in which the debt was originated. And then you can go ahead and see, oh, where you live. And then you can go ahead and see if you have to move forward and see if they're not licensed and bonded, they're violating big time. Have I caught many collection agencies like this? Yes. Sometimes this is a license and a bond that it has to be renewed. So sometimes they just continue and they don't do it, or they close their business and they continue to try to get the debt, collect the debt from the consumer. But if they're not licensed and bonded in that state, then you file a report with the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Attorney General's Office of the Better Business Bureau. You file a report, and the minute they know that you know something, guess what? They would completely leave you alone, because they know that you're very well informed. So how do you start dealing with them? Collection agencies, they must provide you with the proof of the debt. You know, if some people have, this is why you don't see your AT&T, you don't see your Verizon and stuff like that on your credit report. And if you do, it's an easy way, there's an easy way to take it off. But about 10 years ago, you used to see the AT&T and all these electric bills and all these collection agencies trying to collect on behalf of them. Now you don't see that, because they would not provide your original contract. So the collection agency will not have proof of that debt. That contract has to be bearing your signature and have to have the accurate information. You know, sometimes you've moved Sometimes your fund has changed. Something is always, trust me, there's always going to be something that you can go ahead and point a violation, because this is what collection agencies are known for. So the step number one thing that you do, so you have a collection, you already know that is on your credit report. Sometimes you don't even have to go to the collection agency and go directly to the credit bureaus. Why? Because they don't even have an address for you to communicate with the person or the collection agency or the creditor who's claiming that you owe them something. So you put your letter in place. There's normally, I never get past the second letter with a collection agency, but sometimes you may get the first letter in which you send on the day, let's say you send it on the 1st, by the 30th, you should hear from them by that day. So what you do is you send the letter on the 1st, and I'm using a hypothetical number, you could send it on any day, but you count 30 calendar days from the day that they received the notice of dispute. If you send it, this is why you send everything return, receipt, requested, because you know that it was put in their hand and you send it certified. It was put in their hands and they know that they received that, you know that they received it that day. So that day they got served. So you start counting 30 days from the day that that is stamped on that little green paper that you get from the post office. From that day is 30 calendar days. So that if it's signed on the 1st, that they received it on the 1st, you pour your credit on the 1st. And then you wait and pour your credit on the 31st day after that. You wait 30 days, you look at your credit, and it's not changed. You look at your credit on the 31st day, then you pour your credit again, because now you have proof that they have violated the statute of limitations in which they have to answer you within 30 days. That is one way that you can get rid of any collection on your credit report that is there, because I tell you, 80 to 90% of the time, they never respond. And if they do respond to you, they don't provide you with the accurate information or the information that you are requesting from them. Now, if the debt has not been deleted on the 31st day, you don't go back to the collection agency. Now you dispute it with the credit bureaus, because now there is a violation of section 807A in which the credit bureau don't even have to do an investigation, because you're providing them with proof. You pour your credit on the 1st day, on the day that they signed for the letter, you're sending them all that information, and then you pour your credit on the 31st day. So it's 31 days, you got them. So that's one way that you can go ahead and work on collections that are on your credit report. Sometimes, as I said, sometimes you don't need to deal with the collection agency. You deal directly with the credit bureau, depending on the information that is on your credit report. If there is an address and some information where you can contact the collection agency, then after you check if they fully bonded and licensed, after you check that everything is in line, then you go ahead and you dispute the debt. The statute of limitations for collections in the state of New Jersey is 6 years, but this can also be dismissed in court. Now let's talk about data miners, who they are, and how does that information get on to the credit bureau. This is where the credit bureau gets their information. I'm talking more about LexisNexis because I think since the time you turn, excuse me, since the time that you turn maybe 15 or 18 as an adult, they're following you. They know every bit of information about you. Then they take your information and they sell it to the credit bureaus. This is why if you don't want something in your credit report, the first thing you need to do is deal with them and freeze them, because nothing gets to your credit report unless it goes through here. So LexisNexis is not a credit bureau, or they're not an insurance company or anything. They are a company that collect data, puts it in sellable form, information in form of information, and puts it out there and sells it to those who require it, like the credit bureaus. This is the biggest furnisher of information to the credit bureaus. So if you had a bankruptcy, which also bankruptcies, there's also many, many ways that you can deal with bankruptcies. And there's a few steps that you deal with it. I've had many, many people that have success with deleting their bankruptcy. It takes a month or two. It takes a few months, but you can do it also as well. So one of the things that you do with these data miners, there's not only this four that you see here, there's more than that. However, I mentioned LexisNexis because that they are the biggest one. They're the main. I mean, when I first saw my LexisNexis report, it was 135 pages. I flipped out when I saw the information that they had on there. And also you can dispute their information there, because many times they have stuff like my credit history go back, God, over 30 years. So there's information, there may be information there that they need to delete because first of all, they're not going to be able to verify it, and they cannot come to you that they verify. So they're also on the Fair Credit Collections Act and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, in which they fall under that category, although they're not a credit bureau, but they also have to abide by those laws. And those laws says that you have to report accurate current information. You cannot just report anything about you. So you do have some kind of control with all these data miners. You can freeze them. You can request to freeze them. Don't do it online. Some of them have the ability that like Innovis, they have the ability that you can go online and freeze them, but there is a process. So you can go on their website, find out who they are. Don't get mad because you're going to see stuff from those reports, and they have to give you a free report. That's another thing. You don't have to pay for them to give you your own information that they take and they sell to someone else, and then they make a tremendous amount of revenue just on information that is collected from you. So this information, you also have control over it on how they can go ahead and disperse it out there. You can also freeze them. So the fundamentals of credit is, if you have no credit at all, if you just somebody that just went through a bankruptcy, or your credit has gone down, in order for you to start building this credit, you can start with a secure credit card. There's many, many of them out there. And my recommendations are this: you open a savings account, or get a secure credit card. Capital One has one. The credit unions, I recommend that you go through one of the credit unions. A really good one is Navy Federal Credit Union. It's a good one to start with. I've had experiences, a client open a secure credit card. Within 9 months, they just turn it into a credit card, a regular credit card, a revolving account with $2,000 credit limit. So they normally, credit unions move you and help you in building your credit. So after the secure credit card, then you can go ahead and apply for a car loan or mortgage or anything. Do not go to try to get a car loan or anything if you have no credit trade lines. You have to at least create some credit trade lines. So you open a secure credit card, you open a Federal, Navy Federal Credit Union, or any other credit union. Get a $5,000 to $10,000 credit line. How do you do this? There's different companies out there. It might cost you a membership of $99, but you know what? If you need 100 points on your credit report and you need it to go up, I've had people that open two credit lines with jewelry companies or different stores that are out there that will approve you on the spot, no matter what your credit is. So what you do is that you pay a membership, then you buy something inexpensive from them. In a couple of months, you pay them $20, $10 a month, and they report to the credit bureaus. This is a great way for you to increase your credit if you need to increase it. Then you wait 90 days and then you apply after your credit is to a certain point in the 680s. You can go ahead and open a revolving account, a regular credit card. And then you wait another 90 days. And once you have like 3 or 4 credit trade lines that are accurately reporting for like 6 months or 3 months or 6 months, then you can go ahead and get your car, your mortgage, or banks will normally approve you at that point. So in summarizing everything, I'm going to open it up for questions very soon. Remember, check your credit regularly. Pay your bills on time. If you're having problems in paying your bills on time, talk to the creditor. Always make arrangements. Don't let that thing go on your credit report. If it's a mortgage or anything, there's lots of help out there. The banks are providing you with forbearances that you can go ahead and, yes, a forbearance is something that you have to pay that money and it's going to be due all at once, but they have other programs in which that forbearance, they know that a lot of people are not going to be able to pay that money because they just don't have the income right now. And they have been affected by this pandemic. So what they're doing now is that they put in that amount in the back of the loan and, hey, you have another 30 years to pay that $30,000 that you couldn't pay for the last year and a half. So these are ways that you can work it out with your bank. But remember that there's help out there and that anything that goes on your credit can be deleted. There's laws that protect you and there's ways that you can do it. Keep the credit utilization to a third beneath 30%. Remember, if it's $1,000 credit line, don't use more than $300. If you use $300 and 2 cents or 5 cents, you're already getting yourself in trouble. Never ever close a credit account. If it will lower your credit score. If it's a positive information on your credit report, you keep it there. You just keep it there and don't touch it. It's not harming you. If it's not harming you, it's doing you good. Never open a lot of accounts unless it's really necessary to build your credit. Sometimes too much credit can harm you. If you have too much credit available to you, you represent a threat to the lender because at any time anything can go wrong and then you're going to rely on your credit cards or the credit that is available to you and then get yourself in trouble. Pay more than the minimum amount. Avoid paying those interest rates. Keep your credit line with the high impact variable in mind. Remember, paying on time, payment history, and everything beneath 30%. Set up automatic payments so you'll never be late. And setting up your automatic payments from your checking account, remember that it will increase your auto credit score, which is a positive thing for those who really need their score to increase. Never ever charge an amount that you cannot pay in cash at the end of the month, unless it's really necessary. I know there are times in which we can find ourselves in financial situation that we have to, but if that's the case, and if you need to use, let's say you have $1,000 and you need your bank to increase your lease to $1,500, you can just call them when you have the leverage to discuss and negotiate. And then you can use more than $300. So you can use $450, for instance. So, but make sure that it stays below the 30% ratio. Now I'm going to open it up for questions. So Tekoa, can you go ahead and read the questions and tell me?
Of course. So we have one question here from Malaysia. I'm sorry if I misspelled or if I mispronounced your name. They say, why shouldn't we communicate with credit agencies?
No, I didn't say credit agencies. I said collection agencies. Is that what she means?
She typed in credit agencies, so I'm not
Okay,
sure.
so she probably meant collection agencies.
Right.
No, the collection, you know why you should not communicate with them? Because you didn't do any type of business with them. They're not your original creditor. Your only communication with them should be in writing, and it's for the purpose of removing them from your credit report. And if you get on the phone with them, guess what? They're validating the debt and who you are.
Okay, yeah, she did just say that she meant collection agencies.
Yes. You don't want them to validate that first of all, you don't know who they are, number one. Number two, you didn't do business with them. So you don't need to communicate with them, only to the level that is going to take you to delete that negative information from your credit report. So you don't want to open no channels of communication with them.
Okay, great. So our next question is, what about if your student loan balance is really high? Will that impact negatively? If they were there since 2012, always paid on time.
No. If you, as long as you, student loans is not, it's not that is high, or it could be 100,000 to. I've had students of medical students that have 150,000 in student loans, and it doesn't matter the amount, as long as it's positive because you're paying them on time, you're good. And I'm going to do something strictly on student loans because we have a lot of misconceptions on student loans, but as long as they're positive, you're fine.
Okay, our next question is from Carol. She's asking, how does the data miners get our information?
Because they follow you. They're in the business of collecting information. They go to the, one of the things that, let's say if you file for bankruptcy, right? I'm giving you an example. This is a public record. So what they do is that they say, if you write them a letter and says, well, why do you have that on my record? Even if it's your bankruptcy, what they do is say, oh, the county clerk provided me with this information. No, this is why when you are disputing a bankruptcy on your credit report, the first thing that you do is that you write to your county clerk and you ask them for the procedure that they use in reporting your bankruptcy to the credit bureaus. They would, 100% of the time, they will write you back and tell you, we do not do that. We don't provide that information to anyone. But they are going to say that they were provided to them by the county clerk. And that's not so. So this information gets back to you, and then it gets back to them, and you this is how you start disputing bankruptcies. Because once it gets removed from LexisNexis, then you freeze. Then you go to the credit bureaus and you say, why are you reporting this on my credit report? And they're going to say, well, they have to verify it. So guess what? They're going to go and verify it with LexisNexis. And they cannot verify it because it's no longer there. So they have to remove it also as well. But it's a process to do that.
Okay, so our next question is, what can I do about a judgment I paid, but the company still reports it as owing my own credit report?
Judgments and liens are dealt with, there's different letters that you have to write. If you can call, because I don't want to get into and giving you that information on the webinar, but there's ways that you can deal with that, a pretty simple way with just writing a few letters and it's done.
Okay, our next question is, what can I do about removing a car debt that is on my credit report? I co-signed for it, but it was involved in an accident. It was not released by the police department, so it was resold.
I need to see how is it being reported. As long as it's a violation that you can prove to the credit bureau, I need to see on the credit report, how is it being reported? Has it been reported as settle? There's different words that they need to use. So depending on the words in, yes, you can remove it. The credit bureau has to remove it depending on how are they reporting it.
Okay, our next question is, are medical bills removable from credit reports?
Yes. Yes, they are. Just like you deal with collection agencies.
Okay, our next question is from Tiffany. Tiffany's, she has a few comments, it seems like. She says, but they put stuff on your credit and they won't remove. We don't do business, but they put it on your report. So I'm not too sure what the question is, Tiffany. So if you can type out the question, that would be great. Our next question.
She might be talking about collection agencies, that they put stuff on your credit and they won't remove it. Yes, they will remove it. If you follow the proper procedure and the steps, you'll definitely be successful in removing whatever it is that needs to be removed. Because remember, everything is covered under different laws, and it has to be verifiable, and it has to be accurate. And these laws are put in place to make sure everyone does the right thing.
Okay, so our next question is from Lakeisha. Lakeisha's asking, how is personal credit different from business credit?
Very different. Business credit, and I don't know when the webinar is coming up, but we have one in building business credit. Business credit is completely different. Business credit ranges from 1 to 100 and is based on different reporting, vendors reporting to the different credit bureaus, which is only 3. I'm sorry, not even 3, there's 2 major ones. And one of them being the Dun & Brad. And this 65 is your perfect score for a business credit. And you only build it and start building this business credit by acquiring a minimum of 6 vendors. And then after you have the 6 vendors, you apply for a credit card, a revolving account under the name of your business, using your tax ID number, not your personal information or your social security number. So one of the things that people need to do is start from the beginning, never mixing their personal information with their business information. One of the things I notice is even with real estate investors, that they always use their personal information to fund or to apply for mortgages for different investment properties, not knowing that they can go directly and just start building business credit in like 90 days and get it done with. And let the business stand on its own. But it is very different. It's completely different.
Okay, and Lakeisha's asking if you could talk about the freeze on accounts. She missed that part. You will be receiving the video replay as well as the presentations, Lakeisha. So you can always refer back to that part that you missed. Our next question is from Ayana. Ayana is asking, my credit is pretty good. You mentioned that you can increase credit to a higher level to increase your score, but you mentioned that if you increase your credit too high, it can be negative. What is the best amount that we should have?
Oh no, increasing your credit, you mean increasing your credit to an A50 is excellent. That's not, it's not hard, that's not bad at all. But what is she saying? Increasing the credit amount or the available credit? Is that, I don't quite understand the question.
Yeah, Ayana said increasing your credit amount.
Okay, increasing your credit amount. When I spoke about increasing your credit amount, see, when I look and I analyze a credit report and I see how much credit is available to you, let me just use my own example, okay? Because it's the best that I can talk. Back in 2007, I used to use my available credit to purchase property. I used to use that cash available to me. I used to use it for positive debt to create an asset, and then go ahead and pay everything the minute I close on the property. But there were times in which having over $100,000 of credit available to me, I would represent a threat to the mortgage company. So some of them would not consider me because that money was there available to me. Although I had a great history, I still represented a threat. So you have to kind of keep the balance and saying, okay, so maybe I can have $30,000, $40,000 worth of credit available, but not something that is going to harm me, whatever. So this is why you have to conduct an analysis of what is it that you need to take leverage and to go ahead and get those 500 points that you're responsible for and that you can control. Because remember, the 300 you start with is, and it's 850 is the max that you can go, no matter how good your credit is. So it's 500 points that you're shooting at. And if you're there, if you need sometimes to lower your credit line, to lower the amount of credit available to you, to make sure you don't represent a threat to any lender, so that it benefits you.
Okay, our next question is from Cleon. Cleon is asking, if I have a $1,000 credit limit and I spend $900, but I pay before the close date of that card, do I hurt my credit?
I would not play how you see due days and billing cycles. You have to, don't pay attention mostly to the due date. Pay attention to the billing cycle, because this is what they get you. You see that paper that you sign and that has very small little prints? If those little prints state that they can change your cycle, and then by the time you get the letter in which the cycle is changed, like they look for this. This is how they make their money. They look for ways in which they can make money from you. If it's $1,000, if you're using 900 and you pay it, and let's say you think, oh, my billing cycle is on the 8th, let's say, and then they have changed it to the 2nd, what happens? You're going to get charged interest on those $900, even if you pay it before the due date. So you need to understand the process of billing cycles and due dates so that you don't play. It's like gambling. As long as you understand that it's this date, then it won't affect your credit. But if it falls into, if they see that you're doing that continually, because remember I said to you, I used to buy properties and use the money. They would look at the pattern as to how you use your credit card. They have software in place to do this. So you have to be very careful in knowing how to play the way in the game, the way in which it would not harm you. I hope that answers your question, but that's a very good question.
Yes, so our next question is, how do I go about addressing incorrect information on my credit report, such as my address and incorrect late payment reports?
The inquiry, in the beginning of the presentation, it's the inquiries. The inquiries, you send a letter to the credit bureaus and deal directly with them. I don't live there. You don't have to give them any explanation. And give them the law that covers, and within that letter, quote the law that covers you and that gives you the right to have them remove that letter. You're not asking them to please do it. You're telling them that they need to do it. Because according to so-and-so, this is what happens and this is what needs to get done. So there's different patterns and forms of letters that you write, but the only thing on your credit report should be a phone number where they can call you, an address where they can write you a letter, and the name, your correct name, which is on your social security number that they're using. So those things have to be current and accurate. Everything else is not supposed to be on your credit report. And do it in writing. I will not do anything also with the credit bureaus by doing it online. And no, because you're going, they haven't, a system that is called the eOscar. This system is not, the credit bureau doesn't take your letter and reads it. No, it goes through a computerized system. And he reads it, and then he sends you a letter back and saying, oh, we verified this information, or this information is accurate. So you have to continually go back. But normally, the credit bureaus also fall under the same under the same reporting act that says that all information has to be accurate. So they also fall under that law. So they also have to abide by it. And they also have a limitations in which they have to answer you within 30 days as well. So that information has to be removed. And it's very beneficial to you that that information is accurate.
Okay, our next question is from Robert. Robert's asking, do you provide services to repair credit?
I don't do it myself, but I do it for like organizations to build credit. But if you need any assistance in that, if you're not in Essex County, you can send me an email. If you are in Essex County, you can call the center, and I can go ahead and do an analysis on your credit report, tell you exactly what to do, and give you the steps.
Okay, our next question is, how do I have them remove late payments reports that are incorrect?
That's the same process with the letters. You write them the letter, you state the fact, and you state the law that covers you for that specific fact.
Okay, our next question is actually a comment. They're saying for the car question, the car was recorded as a charge-off.
Okay, so if it was recorded as a charge-off, there is a process in which you write the letters, and there is also a way in which is reported. There has to be something on your credit report in which is reported with a violation. That never fails. So it has to be removed. And how long ago was it? Can she answer?
It was actually an anonymous question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're saying 2014. I believe that's the same person.
Oh no, that should be way out. Oh no, that should be. You should not even you dispute that with the credit bureaus. That should be done, gone out of your credit.
Okay, our next question is from Anthony. Anthony's asking, what is the process of building business credits?
It's a simple process, but we have a webinar that we spend a whole hour in telling you how to build business credit. The process is you go ahead and establish 6 vendor account. A vendor could be anybody from where you purchase a pen, paper, anything for your business. Most vendors, when you go and you order online, at the time of checkout, it'll ask you what form of payment you'd like to take. And then after that, what you do is that once you choose, instead of choosing a form of payment, you're going to say open account. So when you open an account, you fill out all the information. Most of the time you get approved right there for credit, but I always recommend that you first open an account and purchase something in full from that company, like make an expense of $50, $10, whatever it is, something little, because these companies, and then once you apply for the credit, then they report to the credit bureaus. Let's say then the second purchase is $100 and you want to pay $5 a month. You'll get approved, and they report to there's Uline, there's Gamblers, there's different companies that you can use, and they sell all types of consumer goods. After you build those 6 credit trade lines of vendors, the next 30 days, I don't recommend that you open all 5 in the same week. Use the 30 days, 2 to 3 weeks. to open those 6 credit trade lines with different vendors, and they're online. You can just Google them and find them. On our webinar, we mentioned some that you can go ahead and use. Then after that, you open a credit card under the business, but you have to have what is called a Dun & Bradstreet number, a DMB number that is attached to your business. Your business have to have one of the things that the vendors look at, and this is not a build your business credit. I'm just going to cover like a few minutes of this. Your business have to have a physical address. It should not be your home address. You should have like a corporate office, because some vendors look into that before they issue you credit. Have a business phone number, a telephone number, not your cell phone or your personal account, something that is listed, because they look for that. Then after you have those 6 vendors in line that they're reporting to the credit bureaus, your score should be at least 50. And then you open a credit card, it should take you to 75. With any bank, or the place where you do your business banking, you can open a credit card with them, a revolving account, and then you can apply for mortgages, cards, and everything under your business. But it takes a process, and it's not that hard, but if you follow the steps that we give on that webinar, you should be very successful with building business credit.
Okay, our next question is from Janine. Janine is asking, similar to the last question, does your business provide the service to rectify credit reports? If so, I am interested.
I do provide service. Are you in Essex County? Can she answer if she's in Essex County? If she's not in Essex County, she can send me an email, and I would, yes. We do the analysis on the credit report, and we tell you all the steps on what to do. Give you all the formulas, even the letters to write.
Great. So our next question is from Jermaine. Jermaine is asking, will my personal credit score impact me getting business credit?
The main reason that your personal should be completely detached from your business is so that they're not linked together. You and your business are 2 separate entities. If you have your personal credit and you have some blemishes on your credit that you need to correct, you should start doing that anyway, regardless if you start building a business credit. But always keep it separate. It won't affect you unless you link both. If you link it once, it's always going to follow you, because you know what? All these companies that collect information, they make sure they follow you and link things to you. So try not to link your personal credit to your business credit. It should not affect it, because they're 2 separate things. They're 2 separate credit scores, I'm sorry. But the only thing that you need to do first is you have to make sure you get a Dun & Bradstreet number. That's a DMB number for your business. Dun & Bradstreet is a free number that you would obtain. Do not purchase anything from them, because if you just build in the business credit, you don't need to purchase none of the stuff that they'll try to sell you. Just get that number and start from there. Then Experian and Equifax also have business credit, but they will not report you unless you have at least 2 vendor accounts and a Dun & Bradstreet number. So those are the only 3 credit bureaus that are available. Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax business. So you can go ahead and make sure that you at least start establishing your business credit. But if you need to clean up your credit, you should start cleaning your personal credit. I don't care what's on your personal credit, guys, you can remove it. It can be worked out. So don't feel bad. You're not the first or the last person to have had bad credit. I've gone from 850 down to the 500s and build it back up, take it from experience. I've done it, and thousands of other people are still doing it today. Just remember, the law is on your side, and you can use it to leverage and get your things clear up.
Okay, our next question is, Equifax sent me a research request form. Is that the form I send certified mail?
They send you a research request form requesting for what? I see, this is a question that has another question,
Right.
because that when they send a research request form is because you must have requested something, and you must have reported something that they needed to more information about you. So you got to make sure. I don't know what information are they following up on. They would not send you something out of the blue. It's because you initiated something with them.
Okay, so until they respond, this is our next question. How do I know that the law covers me?
Because it's written, my dear. It is, it is written. And if it's written, if you go to the Fair Trade Commission and you see all the stuff that is written and it covers you, and all guys, it's as simple as this. You go on their website and you enter whatever your situation is, or Google it, and you're going to see all the stuff that is written. These are very long documents that if you don't understand what it's saying, you can call them, you can research them, you can go ahead and ask someone, explain it to me. Remember I said to you in 2005, I became very familiar with the FTC reports? That's because I sat down with someone, I called them, I went through a lot of things, and I found a lot of information that I didn't even know existed. I was like, oh my God. I was like a kid in a candy store, because then I started giving credit classes to different clients in my office of all the information that I found out and things that you can do. I mean, it's so much information, and it's so much on your side that some people use it, and use it in a negative way to even lie. I don't recommend you do that, but a lot of people use it in many ways. But the law, it's on your side. And how do you know? Because it is written, and you see those legislators that are there in Congress, and they're there to pass different laws. All these bills that are put together and passed. This is why we vote for them. These are laws that are written, and this is how you know it's for us, it's to protect us.
Okay, so our next question is, if the data miner's info is frozen and an item is disputed and deleted from the credit report, does the debt still have to be paid to the collection agency or to the original creditor?
Guys, once it goes off the original creditor's hands into a collection agency, the original creditor cannot even contact you concerning that. It's a done deal. It's no longer a debt to them. It becomes, the collection agency purchases it, but guess what? You did not do business with them. You did not do business with them. On your original credit, when you sign that contract with the original creditor, have you ever seen that it says this debt may be sold to a collection agency and then you are fully responsible? No, you will not see that, because it cannot be there. So you don't, if I don't do business with you, guess what? Don't come to me telling me that I owe you money, because I don't owe you money. Now, if you feel like you want to pay the original creditor, which I don't recommend, which you're wasting your time, which I think you should just go ahead and move on through the proper procedure, use the law, and clear that thing off.
Okay, Ayana's asking, where do we get these old webinars? I think that's in reference to the establishing your business credit. So what I'll do right now, I'll actually insert the link to the upcoming one on March 24th in the chat for everyone.
And yeah, that's one that is always full with a lot of people that always register for business, for the business, establishing business credit, because it's something that a lot of businesses, small businesses, are now getting on the radar and knowing and understanding that they need to have, even to take advantage of all the resources that are available to businesses, that they need to have everything in place, including business credit.
Right. Okay, so we do have two more questions, but we are running low on time. So what would you want to do, Carmen? Do you want to answer them real fast, or do you want to just have
Well,
them?
let's
Okay,
just let's answer them real fast. So remember, if you need, you can also email me at carmenmorris1@gmail.com. If you are in Essex County, you can also call or go online and request business counseling, and someone will contact you. And if it has to do pertaining credit, I would do an analysis of your credit. You will have to pull your credit report, do an analysis, and we will set the appointment. But you have to, you can always email me. I don't guarantee that I'll answer you the same day, but within 48, 72 hours, you get an answer from me. But go ahead, give me the questions.
okay, so the one question is, I was offered a secure loan based on the money I have with the bank. How can that affect me in the process of buying a house?
No, okay. If you are buying a house, don't touch anything, because if you have been already pre-approved for that loan, it's based on the information that they had already. Now, if you go and you acquire more credit, that's going to change your credit score. So if you are if they're offering you a line of credit based on the money that you have, like one of the things that I recommend people, if they want to open, like to just go ahead and increase their credit like 50, 60 points right away, it's open a line of credit against a CD. Like if you have $5,000 in the bank from your business or for personal, you can open a line of credit against that. And that's probably what this person is saying, that they offering her money against the money that she already has or he already has in there. If you're buying a house, do not touch anything, please, because the minute you go ahead and acquire any more credit, you represent a threat to that lender that has already pre-approved you.
Okay, and our last question is from Jasmine. Jasmine is asking, I requested a check systems report. Is that where I should only have my current address? I see it has all my addresses I ever lived. It also has an inquiry requesting my credit history on different dates and years. Should I follow up to see what that is? And she also mentions that she never did business with an American Web loan.
No, don't, if you never did business with them and if you didn't request it, don't follow up on anything. I would not do it.
Okay, great. And that's all the questions that we have, Carmen.
Well, I want to thank everyone for being on this webinar. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on other webinars. We do webinars on QuickBooks, government contracts, sales, marketing. I personally do international trade, business credit, personal credit, and you name it. We have the resources at the center. So just go online, file for your request of business counseling or send me an email and we can take it from there. So thanks everyone for being on this webinar.
Yes, thank you so much, Carmen, for your time and for the presentation. So again, as Carmen said, you feel free to email her any questions with her email on the screen. What I will do, Carmen, I'm going to share my screen and I will have our center's contact information. So if you are located in Essex County, you can feel free to reach out to us this way. So we have our phone number as well as our email and our website. So you can request the one-on-one counseling for that. Okay, since there's no more questions, I would like to direct you all to the chat. Just give me 1 second to pull it up on my end. Okay, there you will find some of our upcoming events for this week and a little bit of next week. So around the bottom of the text I just entered into the chat, we have our link to the Eventbrite page, as well as a link to our website so that you can register for upcoming events that may interest you, as well as request counseling there. I suggest that you can just copy these links, copy and paste it into a Word document or in Google Docs, just so that you can refer back to the information after the webinar is ended. We are also hosting another webinar directly after this one at 3 called Preparing for PPP Loan Forgiveness. So if you are interested in positioning your business to maximize the amount of loan forgiveness you will receive under the program, please feel free to register for that one as well. Again, that webinar is right after this one at 3 p.m. And that is the first link that I just posted just now. We are also hosting an Ask the Experts live virtual open house on March 17th, which is SBDC Day. The link to that is also on the chat. This will be a live Q&A on Zoom where you'll be given the opportunity to have your questions answered by our experts live. So that live open house is on March 17th, and that's at 10 a.m. And I only listed about 5 or 6 of these events, but these are only a few of the webinars that we are holding. So please feel free to take a look on our Eventbrite page on our website and register for the webinars that align with your needs and your interests. I would also like to remind you that you will be receiving a video replay as well as the presentation slides within 24 to 48 hours, so you can always refer back to this information in the future. After this webinar in the browser, you will see a survey pop up. If you can just take a few minutes to complete that, we would really appreciate that. That survey just helps us to adjust our presentations in the future, as well as give us some information on the kind of assistance you are needing. So if you have time to complete that, your feedback is much appreciated. And on that note, we will now end this webinar. I want to thank you all for taking the time to attend, to participate, for your questions. Thank you again, Carmen. And we look forward to seeing you at our future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.